All right, why don't we go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you so much for joining us for the first speaker series talk. Today's talk is What Was It Like? Our finalists from last year's App Challenge are going to present on their entries and then field any questions you might have about the experience of actually doing the App Challenge. Just some reminders, everything you need to know is at this website, and the deadline is November 17th. I encourage you to go to the form that you have to submit and look at it in advance, because there's some longer questions that you may not want to be trying to answer on the 17th at midnight. Also, the App Challenge is a collaboration between IT Services, the Polsky Center, and UChicago Tech. UChicago Tech is the Intellectual Property Office, and they are the ones who are sponsoring the $10,000 prize. So, pretty good. We have 3 upcoming speaker talks. The first, we're going to have, the 1st of November, we're going to have Apple present an overview of the app economy and opportunities for iOS developers. On the 15th, we're going to have Dr. Melissa Gilliam from the BSD and James Taylor from her Associated Game Lab present on using mobile to enhance patient experiences and decision making. And then on the 6th, we're going to have Adam Gerber, who's a lecturer from computer science, present on mobile technology and the law of market information parity. And the abstract is up on our website, so you'll have a few months to understand what that's going to be, because I don't understand it yet. We also have a newsletter, and if you're not already signed up, please feel free to leave your email address. Last week I fielded a lot of questions, ones that I didn't have answers for, and I plan to submit through the newsletter a comprehensive FAQ. So if you want to get that, you'll just need to put your name. So without further ado, this is also in backwards order of presentation. We're going to hear first from Dr. Benjamin Lemelman. Raise your hand. He's a resident at Chicago Medicine. Next, we'll hear from Tao Sun. Thank you. Who is a senior research specialist in the BSD. And then finally, we will have Claire and Dr. Weiser present on HealthSpotter. And then, after all that, we'll take your questions. So thanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me at the challenge. My name is Ben. I'm a resident at the University of Chicago. So basically, I'll talk about a little bit of my experience at the App Challenge, how I found the problem, how I did my research, and then how I tried to simplify everything. So does anybody know what this is? This is a screensaver. Not many people use screensavers anymore, but I'm here because of a screensaver. I was working overnight, and at the hospital came up an ad saying, submit your idea and enter the App Challenge. So I submitted an idea. I have no background in technology. I don't know how to code. I'm new to the smartphones, but I'm obsessed, as my wife can tell you. So first things first, you have to find a problem. What bothers you? What bothers the people around you? And you don't have to be original. It does not need to be original. Everybody thinks, oh, it's already been done. There's no room for improvement. But your idea doesn't need to be original. But you have to be creative. And this is a picture of my father and my nephew. And my nephew's obsessed with basketball. And when he came to visit in Pennsylvania, we had no hoop for him to play with. So you can see there's 2 shovels, a shovel stand, and a cardboard box. And he was obsessed and made a lot of swishes. So you do need to be creative. So what was my problem? My problem I experienced as a patient and also as a doctor. My problem, I went to the doctor's office and I had an abnormal test result. I was worried. The doctor said, you know, this is weird. Why do you have a unusual test result. And then I remembered, oh, my dad had something similar. So I called him up in the exam room, and he said, oh yeah, I had the same exact thing. And I went through a barrage of tests, and invasive and painful tests. And I told that to my doctor, and we came to the conclusion that this was a benign process, and I was able to avoid blood tests and invasive tests. And then as a physician, we're taught to ask head to toe what's wrong, ask personal history, family history, drug history, birth history, ask about the entire person. And whenever we ask, anybody in your family have diabetes? Anybody in your family have cancer? I'm not sure, maybe, I don't know. And it feels like we're a broken record, asking the same question over and over again and getting the same response over and over again. I don't know, I don't know. So that was my problem, and how can I solve that? The solution is here with your family. So your family's around for Thanksgiving, your family's around for Christmas, and we need to ask our family these questions, these important questions, before it's too late. So my roots, the main goals are to spark a dialogue between the patient and their family, and the patient and their physician. So my roots was selected as a finalist, and actually was built by a team of University of Chicago computer science majors. And it's a smart application, so you input data, and it actually tells you what screening tests you need and how to prevent certain diseases. And it's really important, it's really cool, it shows you what patterns run in your family, so you can really talk to your doctor about those issues. So what sort of research can you do? What sort of research did I do? So we all know, I think there's a healthcare law out there. I think there was a government shutdown. And doctors will need to see more patients in less and less time. And as a detective, we need information, and we need the correct information. So that's where my roots came in. Here's an article saying how important family history is, and short of radical change in reimbursement, new tools will be required to aid primary care physicians in the efficient collection and application of patient family history in the era of genetic testing. And that was back in 2004. So what do we have now? We still fill out forms, we still fill out papers, we go from doctor to doctor, answering the same questions over and over again with the answers, I don't know, I don't know. So that's where my roots came in. So check out the App Store today, see what's out there, what problem bothers you, what bothers other people, get ideas of what's out there now. I actually downloaded several different healthcare applications, not just related to family history. I was tracking my own period with a little leaf falling down. So there are other applications out there similar to yours or in the same field, whether it's art, whether it's history, whether it's related to your classes or business or medicine. So here's one actually for family history on the iPhone. And this is what the screen looks like. It's pretty impossible to use. It has these pop-up ads and pretty incoherent. Here's one doctor saying, doc, looking for an app, I wish I could get a refund. It's a free application. So I'm not sure who he's going to get a refund from, but I hope one day he'll be able to use my roots. So lastly, I'd like to tell you to simplify your ideas, simplify your problem. You could want to change the entire university, but pick one thing about the university you want to change, or pick one thing that you want to change about your bicycle route, or your safety, or the University of Chicago community, or Hyde Park. Simplify your problem and your solution. Set goals, specific goals. So for my roots, I broke it down to this is not going to cure cancer. This app is not going to give the doctor all the patient family history. It's not going to say, oh, take a look at this app and the doctor's done. This is just one part of the medical history that is often overlooked. So I found one problem, I simplified it, and I created an app that allows patients to collect that information. So you want to be very specific. You want to have a target user in mind. So is this somebody who's a student? Is it a teacher? Is it a patient, a doctor? Is it people who use the laundromat? Who knows? And your business plan should just be very simple. How are you going to market this? Who would be interested in this? What would be your next step in taking this to the next level? And those at the Blue School of Business obviously know a lot more of the business than I do, but mobile app challenge was great for me in terms of learning about the business process and presenting a strategic plan. And then I do recommend that you build a team, whether it's a formal team or a team of people that you like to speak with, your wife who you can talk about your app with and she tells you to shut up, or your friend who says, oh, that's a dumb idea. But you've got to be receptive to other people's criticism. And my app actually changed a lot from the beginning to the end. You really have to be open, and your idea is good, but it can be much better, and by the end of the process, it will be much better. And so you want to, once you have your team established, you also want to designate specific tasks, because there's a lot to do, and there's a lot to the challenge. There's a lot of time, there's a lot of energy, and it is a challenge. Nobody's going to build the app for you. You are building this app yourself. So make sure if you have a team that you designate and delegate properly. So what's next for my roots? We talked about the problem, we talked about the solution, and it's an easy thing in your pocket that you can bring with you to speak with to your doctor. So right now I'm in the works with speaking with Healthy Chicago to bring this app to the people of Chicago and hopefully the world. Here's this quick screenshot. It tells you your roots are your story. Collect them, share them with your doctor. You're able to add your family members, mother, father, grandparents. You can scroll through and easily select a disease. You can see your family tree all in one place. Just touch one of your family members, not physically, but virtually, and you'll be able to see their medical history. The most important thing is you can show the patterns, and you're able to see, oh, yeah, heart disease really does run in my family, when if it's all scattered around, you don't really see the pattern. You're able to see your own history, and it gives you suggestions based on your family history, based on the screening guidelines, and tells you what you need to speak with your doctor about. And then finally, you're able to share that with your family and share that with your doctor. So thank you very much. Good luck, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Good job.
Alright. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Song, and I'm from the Department of Surgery. Today I would like to introduce you a new mobile app, which I built up in last year's mobile app challenge. This app is called Video Protocols, which will greatly help the scientific researchers. So, the primary job of every scientific researcher is to perform experiments, and the protocols are the guideline of those experiments. The traditional protocol in the labs are paper-based protocols. So while text protocols have many advantages, they are not without their disadvantages. For example, they can be difficult to understand and interpret, and are sometimes very boring to read. The researcher must often perform experiment while reading the text. This needs to translate the text to action, which greatly increases the possibility to make mistakes. The third is, the more research you do, the more protocols you will develop and have to keep track of, finally resulting in a poorly organized mess, which can be hardly to take them away with you. So how many people have those problems? According to UNISP Science Report 2010, there are over 7 million researchers in the world, and every researcher in the lab needs a protocol to perform the experiments, which means there are potentially 7 million people waiting for a better solution. 2 years ago, I built a video protocol website, which is designed to allow researchers to easily learn and share their protocols via hosted videos. Without any advertising or financial aids, website analytic reports in 2012, just in 1 year, indicate that the video has been viewed more than 57,000 times, which indicate that the video-based protocol already have a wide audience. Now I have repackaged the video protocol into a user-friendly mobile application, which will make the researcher's life even easier. There are many key advantages of this app. First, you can watch the videos describing the experimental protocols, which will make the protocol easier to be understood. Second, researchers hate wasting time, and this app will allow you to learn the protocols anywhere, on the way to your lab or on the bench where there is no access to computers. The third advantage is it's easy to share your protocols to others. You just need to record your experiment method and upload to the server. And the next advantage, which I think is a fantastic design, is that you can switch the video to step-by-step mode. This allows you to follow the experiment step by step while you're actually doing the experiment. So as this video shows that the researcher is following the experiment and by using this app. Oh, by the way, and there is a timer pops up if there is a time you need to wait for the experiment. This app also makes it easier for researchers to organize and store their protocols. Think about that. Which kind makes your life easier? Of course, the cloud storage is better. So the following video will show you how this app looks like. Open the app. On the bottom, you will see My Protocols, Browse, Search, Help, 4 function buttons. Tap the Browse button, and you will see all the protocols categories. Tap one category, for example, cell biology. You will see the subcategories. Tap 1. Cell culture, for example. You will see a video protocol. Swipe the video to the left. You can see all the steps of this video protocol. Go to My Protocols. You can see some videos here. These are all the videos you uploaded by yourself. Let's try search function. For example, I want to find a video protocol about DNA isolate from the blood. So I type DNA in the search bar and search. There is a video protocol shows up. Tap the thumbnail and you can watch the video. You can fast forward or rewind. You also can switch to step-by-step mode by tapping the steps. Here you can see the several steps of this protocol. You can play from the step 1 or from any step you want. Let's try step 3 as an example. You can play video in full screen by rotating your device to landscape. Video will be paused automatically after each step, allows you to follow the experiment step by step. Due to the experiment requires a 5 minutes wait time after this step, an integrated timer pops up and counts down the time for you. You also can skip the timer at any time by swiping the timer to the right. The next step will then start to play. You can tap the comments button to leave your comments. Press down on the top left and then go to My Protocols. You can share your video protocol by tapping the plus on the top right. Type a protocol name here, choose a category, type anything in the protocol text. Now you can tap protocol video to record your video. Here I just record a 10 seconds video as an example. Tap use button if you want to use this video. Now you can split the video into steps by tapping add steps button according to your protocol. Time 0 is the default first step. I will name this step as 1. I also can type any details here about this step, and then tap down to make the next step. Name this step as 2. I would like to add 1 minute timer after this step, so I can type 1 under the timer duration. Set step 3 here, and then step 4. Once it's done, I can tap the save button on the top right to upload this video protocol to the server. Now you can see there is one more video under My Protocols page. The last button is Help page. You can find the help information here to instruct you how to use this app. I really like the step-by-step function because it gives you the time to follow the protocol in real time. But all the steps are pre-made by the protocol makers. What about if you don't like how the steps split, or you think each step is too long or too short for you to follow? Then you can use the Smart Step-by-Step feature. This enables you to follow the protocol under your own steps. The Smart Step-by-Step feature is very simple to use and very useful. It will automatically pause the video playback when you are done facing the screen. The following video will show you how this cool feature looks like. This video shows you how to isolate 5 micrograms of pure genomic DNA from whole blood in less than 20 minutes. Step 1. Transfer 50 100 microliter of blood into a 1.5 ml tube. As you can see from the video, once the researcher is not looking at the screen, the video will pause automatically and give the researcher the time to follow that step. Once it's done, when the researcher looks at the screen again, the video will continue to play. And then you can repeat all the steps like this. Step 3. Pipette 5 to 6 times, then incubate for 5 minutes. So this is the smart step-by-step. Hope you will like it. And how can this app be profitable? Biotech companies face fierce competition, and therefore there is a need to advertise their product. There is an enormous possibility that biotech company will need to advertise or sponsor this app. We can produce video protocols using particular equipment or reagent kit from the biotech company, or simply just place the company logo in the video. And another example to show why biotech company need this is to imagine that you are a researcher and looking for experiment kit. Both companies has the exactly same kit with the same price. So how do they choose? How do the researcher choose which one to buy? If one company has the added feature of video protocols available on their website, I think it's easy to see why the researcher will pick up this one. So here comes the conclusion. With this mobile app, the protocols are easy to understand. It allows for on-the-go learning anywhere. Easily share your protocols. Follow and perform experiments in real time, step by step. You can organize and store your protocols on the cloud. Last, I would like to thank IT Services UChicago Polski Center for helping me to realize my idea. And I would like to take any questions there. Thank you.
We'll actually handle the questions at the end after Ms. Slaughter
Thanks. It's really fun to see the progress in both of these apps, Ben and Tao. And just, Tao, your app reminded me of this past weekend when I was repairing my clothes washing machine using YouTube. And I could have used that kind of that smart advancement feature that you have there. So I was kind of elbow deep into my machine, trying to also listen to how the guy in the YouTube video was explaining things. So. Well, great. So, I'm Dave Weiser, and this is Claire O'Grady, and we are just a small part of the Health Spotter team. You already heard the importance of developing a team, and it is, I think, critical to our success. And so, what we were interested in doing is kind of using mobile technology to improve the discharge process. So this all started kind of based on insights that I had and some insights that my team had. We came from different parts of the clinical delivery system. I'm an emergency physician. I've been practicing for about 10 years at University of Chicago. And something that I noticed over and over again in my experience was that the discharge moment is very rushed. It's not an ideal moment to learn. Just imagine yourself in the emergency department. You're in the waiting room for maybe 4 or 5 hours. Then you got back, you saw your physician, and then your physician at the very end tells you that you've got a new diagnosis that you have to deal with. Okay? Now imagine that you're a father or mother of 5 kids. You're in the pediatric emergency department. Your youngest has just been diagnosed with asthma. You've got 4 other kids running around. They're hungry. It's late. It's 11 o'clock at night. And you're trying to concentrate as the physician tells you how to manage your child's asthma. It's not going to sink in, is it? Well, the way we've always kind of rationalized this is, well, we're writing it down on paper. So we hand our patient a stack of papers. We send them off into the darkness, and we hope for the best. And guess what happens after this moment, this episodic care? Well, they come right back. Okay, and they come back over and over and over again. And while they have primary physicians and they go to meet the primary physician, it doesn't link up. Okay, and so we saw this, and we also had another insight, once again independent, that our patients are mobile. In my case, I noticed that oftentimes when I'm talking to them about their diagnosis, there's at least somebody in the room, often the patient, often the mother, who's looking down at their phone. Okay, so their nose is in their phone all the time. They live on this phone. Okay, we know the statistics. The U.S. Mobile penetration in the U.S. wireless penetration is 104%, so more than 1 device per person at this point. 53% of cell phone users are smartphone users. About 20% of these people, though, are using health-related apps. So there's a huge opportunity there between the 20% and the 100%. And so we saw that as kind of something that we could address with our app. So I alluded to the team. This is the team. We've got Reggie, who's an emergency physician, who's very passionate, has done some research on patient education. And he started talking to me about this observation of the broken discharge process during an overnight shift in the emergency department. And then there was Priya Raja, Claire O'Grady, and Leah Brodsky. I met the 3 of them in the D4 lab, which is this human-centered design fellowship that we did through the Polski Center last year, where we learned a lot of the techniques that we applied within the mobile app challenge. And these are, in many ways, a lot of the techniques that the mobile app challenge was teaching us once again. But we basically came together over a discussion on the discharge process that occurred during the fellowship, and we decided, well, let's get together and maybe we should do a study. We'll do a study. And so we said, well, why don't you meet me in my office and we'll talk about maybe we can do a survey or something on mobile app use in patients. And so this was Friday, I think, the day that the mobile app challenge application was due. And Cornelia is not going to want to hear this, but we started talking about it, and then I said, you know what? I seem to recall there's this mobile app challenge thing. But forget it. You guys have finals. I'm going to a party tonight, so let's not put in an entry for this because this would be a great idea, but we don't have time. So I got back from the party, and Leah, Claire, and Priya had basically started the application, and they texted me that, hey, we're on a Google Doc right now, and so spent the next couple of hours kind of writing this thing up, and we put it in. And that's not the way you want to do it, really, especially if you're going to use human-centered design. So what was the process? What is this human-centered design? So the MAC process, like I said, we started off with this preconception of what we wanted to design. We had a problem that we kind of assumed was the problem, and we went in, and we actually went as quickly as we could. We went into the emergency department, the Comer emergency department, and started doing observations. And what we found out was that some of the assumptions that we had about this problem weren't necessarily true. We did this, and we learned this by kind of just recording facts and patient quotes, and then putting them up on kind of our whiteboard, and organizing them, reorganizing them, and drawing out common themes. From those themes, we came up with an initial set of features. Now, what we ended up designing in the end doesn't look very much like our proposal to the MAC, okay, our initial proposal. And it was through this virtuous cycle. So we came up with the features, we prototyped this, and the MAC kind of brings you through this process and showed us how to prototype things without actually investing any money and not that much time on the prototype phase. We literally just made these paper prototypes, and we brought them back to the emergency department, and we showed them to patients. Okay, so I would be working my shift, and the rest of the team would be going in and talking to patient families and recording their responses. And so we went through that cycle, and so after the first time going through that cycle, we came back and we adjusted our feature set. We reduced some things. We got very kind of focused. And we found that each time we went through that loop, our app improved. And the only way we were able to do that, it's uncomfortable. User testing is uncomfortable because you get this feedback, and it's not good feedback sometimes. And so you will avoid this process of user feedback because it's personal, right? Because you've got this assumption that this is the problem. You have to be open that you might be completely off, that the need statement that you have initially articulated is not of interest to your customer or to your patient. Okay, and so go through the cycle as many times as possible. If you're interested on using human-centered design specifically for mobile challenges, Frank Bentley wrote this great book that kind of takes these two areas and mashes them together, and so that's something that you can use as a resource. So what came out of this as far as our initial feature set? And I'll echo Ben's admonition that you want to simplify. Okay, so we had a fairly broad proposal that used every sensor and feature on a smartphone to its fullest extent. And then we realized very quickly that we weren't going to be able to deliver on that in any kind of meaningful way. And so we really reduced it to a few things. So we had an insight that the information being delivered to the patient was kind of being delivered all at once in a big stack. And most people don't like big stacks of information, especially under these stressful, high anxiety types of scenarios like the emergency department. So instead of giving you the information all at once, our app delivers information to you kind of incrementally over time in kind of more of a serial fashion. We also noted that our patients would prefer to either see a video instruction rather than, or potentially even a cartoon or kind of iconic display of the information rather than big blocks of text. So we addressed that with the video functionality for the app challenge. And then, once again, it's at the wrong time. You're getting a lot of information at the wrong time, and we're saying, be sure to follow up with your physician in 2 weeks. Be sure to take your inhaler, on this schedule. You want to take your prednisone for 4 days. A lot of information, all being delivered at the same time. We thought notifications could really address that, and so we built in a way to give patients notifications. So 2 days later, or actually, 2 days later, when they've forgotten to take their medications because they feel better, they get another notification, which helps them complete their therapy and keeps them out of the emergency department. Part of the MAC challenge also demands that you develop at least a cursory business case. And so we did that. We did not have a business person on our team. I think it would be helpful. So if you know folks from the booth, they can help you create these nice, these are called kind of BCG charts, if you will, where we noticed that the competitive landscape for apps actually looks a little bit like this, where we've got a lot of apps in the health space that are looking at long-term management. And then just very few that are looking at short-term. And we found this one called WoundRight, which is very focused on a single diagnosis. Now, initially, when we started off, we were really up in that quadrant up there because we wanted to address not just asthma, but a lot of different diseases. Right now, we're kind of down in this lower right, and I think as we roll this out with patients, we're going to be in the lower right quadrant, but gradually move up to the upper right. That's another example of kind of narrowing focus for success. So with that, we will run through the demo.
So in the final round, if you make it that far, you get to work with the developers to actually design your app. And that's a really exciting process. Like everyone, you had some experience in programming, but Ben and Dr. Beiser and I, and the rest of the team had no experience. So this was a really, it's definitely a learning process, learning how to work with developers and what's useful. And so that was really valuable. And actually, 3 out of the 5 of us are going to be working in tech next year. So the 3 undergrads, we're all had no experience in it before, and we're now moving in that route. So it's kind of exciting. So imagine that you're in the emergency room and your child has had a severe asthma attack. The nurse would come in and direct you to download HealthSpotter through the hospital's Wi-Fi, and you would ensure where you were treated, when you were treated, and what you were treated for. So scrolling through the timeline, you see that
I knew this was
the information is organized so you know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it each day. There are also ways to learn more about your condition. So you can learn through video and through text and illustrated text. So this is to accommodate people who maybe don't have high literacy levels. So if the doctor enters the room, he would tell you to take a video of his instructions. So if there are other people who will be taking care of the child at home, this is where they can hear it right from the doctor's mouth what they need to do.
So as I do this, usually you don't do it as a selfie. So you would record. But I will say this is somewhat disruptive because physicians don't necessarily like themselves videotaped. We noticed in our user testing that users were occasionally videotaping kind of surreptitiously. So we're bringing that process out into the open and making it part of we're normalizing this behavior, if you will.
You look great, by the way.
So patients were pretty excited about this feature. And doctors, this is kind of a safe way for the video to be stored, so they're not worried about ending up on YouTube and potential lawsuits or whatever. So when the patient goes home, they'll check things off as they do them, and all this information will be saved onto the timeline and can later be, there's some places to input symptoms and behavior, and all this will be saved and eventually it can be exported to their primary care physician. And that kind of closes the loop between the emergency room setting and the primary care setting. So that's where we were at the end of the MAC challenge. So definitely it has a lot of the features that we wanted. We're kind of entering the next stage where we're going through that cycle again and making sure that we're doing user testing and adding things.
Sure. Well, so Claire could take it from here. I guess I will. So a couple things that we're doing right now. Claire has been in the emergency department actually doing a tech survey. So we're trying to understand more completely what our patients are doing, and we're finding that our numbers so far look similar to what's the data that's coming from the Pew Research Foundation on the use of mobile health or mobile platforms for health. We're finding out a lot about which platforms that they're using. This is important as you decide what to design on. We're developing new features. One of the things that we found that we're going to test, we think this is going to have value, we don't know yet, is we're making we're taking symptoms and medication use, and based on that, we're actually helping patients decide whether or not they're in control or not in control of their asthma. So we're kind of computing some of this information into a recommendation. Ultimately we're going to want to try to integrate with the electronic medical record. That will be a plan. But before that, we've got a lot of work to do. And we do plan to study this in the emergency department in the very near future. Then just finally, I just want to thank everyone. First of all, our the patients in the Comer Emergency Department who are just so generous and so wonderful to kind of help us develop this app in collaboration. It was great. Talk to your users. It's a lot of fun. Our developers, Joe and Andrew, who were kind of instrumental in making this happen, and of course the sponsors and organizers of the App Challenge. So that's it.
All right, do we have any questions? Yes.
What percentage of the applicants were from the medical school or like hospital? I'm just curious about the team. All finalists were from
Right.
medicine.
I'm not sure, but I'll say a sizable proportion. The mobile app challenge was advertised on every screensaver in the hospital, so we got an influx of BSD in the hospital submissions.
Okay. Was it disproportionate? I'm just, as a business school student, I'm a little disencouraged by 3 medical students I made, not students, or doctors, that made it to...
Right, it's kind of weird to see 3 finalists all from the same area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that totally makes sense. I will say, though, that the 3 finalists were incredibly engaged during the entire time and did the best job of presenting their case at the semifinalist round. So I really think it was more of the tenacity of the entrants than necessarily just because they were all in medical, for instance.
Okay.
It's a bit of a disease with medical students too, right? So, and business students too, but medical students are really tenacious and hardworking. But yeah, I mean, I think in the user testing sessions that you had, there were, I think in the room, it was pretty well represented across schools.
Yeah. Probably, I would say 5 of the 21 semifinalists were from the medical side, and everyone else was law, booth, SSD, undergrads, grads.
It was a good mix in the final 21.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think that there's a preference for apps or more ideas that are sort of academic in nature, or for sort of like professional or academic use?
What's an example of an academic use?
I mean, I guess I use that term with, these ones were all medical, but they were also all sort of like, here's something like for that helps doctors. It's not. It seems like Yeah, for helping researchers, right? So is there a preference for that sort of thing, or were there also lots of entrants for, let's say, more frivolous?
Yes. Those like more, I need to think of a euphemism, but like, we had a fair amount of apps that were not, solving serious life and death problems. But the entrants were able to make a compelling case that people would be interested in this app. So your original question was, is there a preference for this kind of academic stuff? I would say no. I mean, if people can prove their case, that's what's the most compelling thing.
Do you feel like there had to be utility, or these apps, or was there a preference? These were all like solving problems. There were certainly games though that weren't solving any problems.
Right. When we were judging these, we were very careful not to fall into that trap. Because it's in our best interest to keep an open mind as possible in doing this. So that's what I would say. So I guess to answer your question, there really isn't a preference. We're not doing ourselves a favor.
Maybe a point to say who is your obviously we want everybody in the world to download your app, but if you look at the App Store, there's millions of apps, and some of them are really specific. And we, through the challenge, we meet the previous winners of other challenges, and one guy's like, "Oh yeah, I developed a mouse house." What is? He's won these awards. What is Mouse House? It's specifically for people who do research with mice, and it allows them to keep track of how many live mice and how many dead mice they need. So it's so you just have to know who you're targeting, and if you have an audience, and if you have a real problem, then somebody out there probably also has that.
We had 2 people in the semifinalists who were representing wayfinding at the hospital. So that's a really specific situation, like first-timers at UChicago. But we brought 2 people in because they made such a compelling case for what they were doing. So it can be that small.
There were safety apps, there were fitness apps.
There were money apps.
Or games.
Games.
And at the initial stages, are you looking? Maybe these are hard questions, but are you looking for an idea that already seems specific and honed and realizable as is, or for an idea that, what I have, I feel like, is an idea that's broader and that may have many specific applications.
Yep.
And I guess I'm trying to figure out, as I start working on the application, how much to sort of sell the big idea in the first round, and then use the process to.
You should start big.
Yeah.
As long as you can make a at the 10,000 foot level, as long as you can make a convincing argument that there is a need or a desire that can be met, that's what we're looking for right now.
As time goes by, your idea will be narrow.
We made a big proposal, and the feedback that we got was, this is way too ambitious. It sounds like this $6 million grant that has been recently awarded to this researcher in Chicago. It was really huge, and we were going to do this with no money. And so we got that feedback. But they still let us into the contest. Right. So I think there's a lot of negative feedback that we received that was just way too broad. Not negative feedback, but just specific feedback. And so we started really big and ended up, fairly narrow.
And even with that narrowing, it allows you to explain your case again writ large. You just have something concrete now to really focus people's attention.
I think just
There's
focus
a
on
question.
creativity and that you've been thoughtful about what the problem is, and identifying what you're trying to solve is the most important part, rather than exactly how you're trying to solve it.
Do you have a question?
I do. You talked about making updates to what you have. Do you have the code to do the or are you going to then update your own team?
I was told not to answer any technical, but yeah, once you're in the, I don't know how it'll be this year, but they gave us as finalists after the competition. We got the code now to do what we want.
So it's yours. It's not UTech, the Chicago Tech.
Yeah, I
So you
signed.
make the
I signed my roots degree that I have.
Yep, yep. And just so you know, the intellectual property issue, right, participating in the contest completely does not affect your intellectual property rights. There are other pre-existing conditions that might, but they have nothing to do with us.
And then during the design phase, when all of you were deciding how to design, how involved were you in the design process? Did you have to make a slide deck for each screen that you wanted to do, or did you work directly with the people and sit down with them, or was it face to face, or was it emailing back and forth your ideas?
I think we all had different experiences with that. We had weekly meetings with the developers to go through our ideas. We also used slide decks as well. Some of it was limited by what was kind of doable during that time period. So not everything ended up looking exactly like we wanted it to look like, but it was very close.
The various assets that your app would need, at least in our case, we did the wireframing, that connects kind of the screens together, and then the various assets that you need, the content for the app. Found most of them, when we got to the stage where we were actually coding for the finals, then our developers helped us, with some of the textures and icons and things like that. We got some help there, but most of it came from the team.
I thought,
Even before that, you will have some workshops to teach you how to design and draw picture, the slides, how to work with that.
I thought MVP was LeBron James, but it's actually a minimum viable product, and that they show you just break it down to its bare bones, and don't worry about breaking it down at the beginning. Just go broad, and then later on you'll develop your MVP. So develop your entire, I presented it, I said it's going to have security features, nobody will crack the code. Your stuff is secured on a server. There's no server. That costs a lot of money. So just have the idea, and then you'll break it down to your end.
Then my last question was it? I saw all of you at Apple. Is this iOS based?
This past year, it was all iOS, in part because that was the talent pool we recruited from. But this year, we're going to recruit for Android, iOS, and also mobile web.
Thank you.
Yes.
What about visual design? Are there visual designers involved, or just?
So last year, no. The onus was on the entrants to get all of their visual assets together, however they wanted to, because we provided the programming and kind of project management stuff. We couldn't have programmers also doing a lot of the design stuff, because it would take away from what they were really here to do. But I felt like, with what you saw, people got pretty far having to deal with it themselves. So we'll probably, unless we have design interns, we'll probably do the same.
I think it'd be good to just reach out to I don't know what majors they have, but if they do have graphic design, just say, this will be something for them to show in their resume
Right.
also.
That's
I think
a good
that would be
point.
something to reach out to.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
It wouldn't be hard for us to reach out this year.
Yeah, and other people talked about this, but I think that putting a team together is really crucial. One of the reasons that we were able to go get as far as we did was because there were a lot of us working on it, and it's not just about getting other people's perspectives, but just this is an involved process, and I think don't enter into it lightly because it's a great opportunity and you get a lot of help, but it requires a lot of work. So having a team, especially people who have different kind of subject areas that they're good at, is really helpful.
Do you consider that in the application?
Sorry?
Do you consider the team members in the applications or just the application itself?
So all your team members have to qualify for the app challenge. That's the only consideration that
But you're not like, oh, they have a doctor and...
we have. No, we do not care about that.
But it will help you. It will really help you. And also, it's tough to kind of question your assumptions by yourself. It was really great for me to just like sit in a room and try not to say anything, and have the rest of the team kind of lead, me just facilitate. Even though I've been there, I know these patients better than anybody, but to let go of that and let the process happen. And you can't do that by yourself. So the collaboration is the key.
All right, that's it. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for presenting. I really appreciate it. Be sure to come to our next speaker series on the 1st. I believe it's going to be Apple. And if you'd like to be on the newsletter, just sign up over here.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really. Oh, actually, it's in the loop on your work here. And if there's anything